Shalom, good afternoon, this is Daniel Stern, and today we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things, and we're going to start close to home with Gaza, the Gaza Strip. Hamas spokesperson Abu Obaida says that the hostages are in zones that the IDF has ordered evacuated. As you know, the IDF has stepped up their attacks recently and are ordering evacuations from different territories in order to remove the civilians to safety so they will not be killed. Obviously, some will classify it in different terminology, but that's okay. So the Hamas spokesperson Abu Obaida says that hostages are in those zones and will remain there under heavy guard, and that Israel will be responsible if they are harmed. This is, of course, nonsense. Israel is not responsible for harm that happens to hostages. The hostages that were brutally and cruelly taken on October 7th are 100% the responsibility of their captors, the Hamas, who, if they wish to, could release them today, and they could return home to Israel today. And any harm that comes to them is solely the responsibility of the evil terrorists that are holding them prisoner. There was a recent report a couple days ago that on March 23rd, 15 medical staff were killed by the IDF. The reports are being looked at, and Israel generally does not target non-combatants, but until the IDF provides answers, which will probably take some time, the loudest voices that call for genocide are the ones that call it genocide, are the ones that are heard. But we will find out later what the actual truth is, whether these 15 people are indeed killed or not, whether they were medical staff or not, whether there were terrorists with them or not, and so on and so forth. So I would urge caution, but it is something that happened, and it would be wrong of me not to mention it. There's a report that relatively high sources within the United States government told Egypt that without an end to the resistance, in other words, to a Hamas which is armed, there will be no talks of rebuilding Gaza. So that's quite interesting. Now, moving on a little bit closer to home, I spoke in the past multiple times about the issues of deep state and bureaucracies and right and left and the legal obstacles and so on and so forth. So here are a few reports that touch on that. The Vice District Attorney, Gil Limon, claimed that the term deep state is fake, that such a thing doesn't exist at all. And the National Prosecutor says that he and the District Attorney are in full cooperation, and that criticism against their offices delegitimizes them and is unacceptable. You hear that? It's unacceptable to have criticism against people in a democracy, against the bureaucrats in the democracy. Criticizing them is unacceptable. Now that you know that, you can be silent little sheeps who don't criticize anyone. At the end of his temporary term as the Civil Service Commissioner, due to the High Court not allowing it to become the permanent position, this gentleman, who will mention his name in a moment because I don't remember it right now, says that he charged the district attorney with illegally obstructing him from doing his job. I spoke about it before, that the district attorney gave illegal orders to keep him out of the system and out of his emails. And this is a gentleman who is currently not on the left, but rather seems to be leaning to the right. And consequently, Benjamin Netanyahu is considering him for the position of the Prime Minister's Office District Attorney, which of course is separate from the District Attorney to the government, which is the highest legal position in the country. But the Prime Minister's Office is District Attorney is also a good position. And his name is Roi Kachlon. I apologize for earlier. Now you know. By the way, I'm going to segue to something completely different for a moment, so you'll forgive me. But I recently received a comment that these videos would look better if I did not wear a tie. Consequently, Today I'm not wearing a tie. And I'd like you guys in the comments to tell me what you think. Is it better with a tie or without a tie? Let me know. In any case, the next thing I just want to touch on, but it will require a bit of an in-depth look later because it's brand new as of last night and still developing. But the Shin Bet, the General Security Service, is continuing to act in a very rogue and unprofessional and one might even say illegal way, as it has for quite a long time. But yesterday a report came out that the head of the Jewish department in the Shin Bet, in the GSS, was recorded telling a full colonel in the police, which has also been charged with crimes that is part of a setup that we'll talk about later, that they need to throw into dungeons with rats the Jews without any evidence. This is a quote. He's recorded saying that. And we will have to do an in-depth later about the Shin Bet because it's, of course, a big deal, as we'll see with the next report, which is that the Democratic Party, Yair Golan, the head of the Democrats, announced that they will appeal to the High Court to remove Benjamin Netanyahu as Prime Minister of Israel due to a letter from the recently fired Shin Bet chief against Netanyahu. We spoke about that quite a bit in the past, so I won't go into it now. I just want to jump a bit out to Hungary. Benjamin Netanyahu visits Viktor Orban in Hungary for a very good visit. Orban is once again one of those global leaders that the left hate and say he's a dictator, when in fact he's conservative. But that is what they do when they can't beat people in elections. We spoke about that last video. During his visit, Hungary quits the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, because, as it claims, it has become politicized, especially in its attacks against Israel. And related to that, Nicaragua withdraws its request to join South Africa's case against Israel. We can see that the Trump effect is indeed affecting things all over. And on the other hand, German foreign minister says that Netanyahu's visit to Hungary, to Europe, despite arrest warrants against him and that they aren't fulfilled, is a dark day for international law and order. But, well, let's jump to the ICJ itself. The chief prosecutor of the ICJ is considering more warrants against Israelis. And yet, same chief prosecutor, Khan, is also accused of sexual misconduct and brutally taken revenge against the whistleblowers about his sexual misconduct. And now let's quickly jump much farther out. We did a video about South Korea a while back and how it fits into the picture of conservative against liberalism. So the President Yoon of South Korea, his impeachment was ratified by the Constitutional Court with a vote of 8-0. So he will indeed continue being impeached. His impeachment will be permanent and he will not take his office back. Additionally, he is also embattled with arrest warrants for his actions, and we may soon find him in jail. So this just strengthens the previous point. 2 United Kingdom parliamentarians were blocked from entry into Israel due to previous statements and their bias against Israel. And in a not surprising move, and somewhat related, an anti-Semitic Italian lawyer was nominated as the UN representative to the Palestinian territories. Already in 2022, it was reported that even in 2014, she displayed anti-Israel bias, such as claiming that the BBC, well known for its anti-Israel opinions, is actually in the pockets of the Jewish lobby. Boy, I wish that were the case, but it isn't. So, in any case, these are the news stories for today, and I wanted quickly to tell you that we at Netivyah are still purchasing gear and distributing gear to soldiers who, unfortunately, this the Gaza war is still continuing. Our very own Nir is scheduled to go back into the army in a few weeks. And in a few months, Yuda is going back into the army. And we are still doing our part. We just purchased dozens of ceramic vests with plates and dozens of helmets that will be distributed shortly to our troops on the ground. And I'd like to invite you to consider joining us, joining in this effort to make sure that our soldiers are protected. We pray for them to protect them spiritually, but that's not enough. We also need to help provide them with necessary life-saving gear. So, if you feel called, please join us in this effort. And as always, like, click the button, click the bell, subscribe, share, and comment. Your comments do make a difference. God bless you all. Shalom.